Hello everyone, welcome back to our YouTube channel. I hope you are enjoying the videos. For more insight on HR practices and real corporate world exposure, please subscribe to our channel, like the video and do share it with others. Also, please press the bell icon to never miss an update from HR Success Talk. Thanks a lot. Enjoy this video.
Very good evening to all of you. Today, my name is Smita Narkar. Today, I'm going to present about the type of audit in HR. There are different types of audits in HR. Now, you must have learned about the fundamental principle of HR audit. Now, let's get into the detail about the various HR functions and how the audit process follows in those HR functions. Let's look at what is the understanding of HR policies. Now, many companies will call it as a corporate policy or a company policy, workplace policy. I mean, the terminologies are different. The policies are policies. So what does mean HR policy? It means by it includes the rights, responsibilities, and the description of the behavior from both the parties, from the employee as well as an employer together. Now, when you look at the HR policy from audit standpoint, it is important for the employee as well as the employer. When you are going to introduce any new policy in organization, you need to ensure that how this policy will empower and protect our employees. Is it creating any organization value? Uh, does that minimize the risk within the different processes as well as the business? And this policy will applicable for the legal requirement, right? And it also talks about the workforce culture, right? So any policy in terms of the audit perspective, you need to ensure that for example, let's take an example, right? During this hybrid work environment, many companies have developed the work from home policy, wherein they may not have the policy in place earlier, but now they have introduced the policy in place. So they need to ensure that if they are giving any kind of allowances for the broadband connectivity or anything, it has to be documented and updated very well. And the version of the policy implemented, it should be mentioned in the document under their employee handbook, right? All the policies are placed in the employee handbook, which is very important, right? So let's look at the second aspect of the HR audit in terms of the HR processes is the legal compliance. You must legal, when the term comes as legal, it has no boundaries, right? So it is limited and to the scope. For example, if you are hiring a people who are on a contractual basis, so you need to apply for the payment of contract act in the organization. Now the complexity that vary based on the organization, right? Type of organization, size of the organization, what is the objective of the organization. Many organization, let's take this example, many organization do not follow the CMM level audit process. Why? Because their standards of quality are not up to the CMM level, but their standards of quality are related to ISO audit process and etc. Now, let's look at the coverage of legal aspects, right? When it comes to the coverage of legal aspects, it includes environmental law, which includes the safety and environment safety and everything about the employee, taxation, labor laws, right? So you have a let's say manufacturing companies have a blue collar workers, white collar workers, plus contractual workers, plus third party contractual workers, wherein the two more parties are involved in that process, right? Plan policies and strategies for the future growth and aspects in terms of the insurance, whether you are going to cover ESI or a normal insurance policy to your employees, whether the company is into merger and acquisition, what are the rules and regulations and applicable to the merger and acquisition. So legal compliance is very vast topic. As I said earlier, it is based upon the size and objective of the organization. So this is very important from a legal standpoint. You need to ensure that identify the gaps in the process and minimize the business risk in a compliance way. That's all about it talks about. Now moving ahead, the third major part of major assets of HR function is the performance management system or performance management audit. Now, when you talk about the performance management as an entire process, there are various steps. First thing is planning, which is required to plan your annual appraisal assessment or half yearly appraisal assessment, right? Once you do the planning, then you do the execution, then you do the evaluation, and then you publish that particular performance appraisal system in an organization. When it comes to the HR audit, what is important from the performance standpoint is an evaluation. Is this system evaluating your employees, all type of employees, and how it is? Like, is it consistently year by year? Because let's say you have a system, you did the appraisal assessment for your employees not this year, but you have done it last year, and you have a plan to do it next year. So that is not a consistent. So there could be possibility that when we do the next year audit, auditor may have find out these gaps in the performance evaluation system. Are the employees provided with the written job specification or expectations? Whether the goals and competencies has been shared through the systems? Is there any method that you utilize to evaluate, to write their performance by evaluation, by writing the comments and all that? Now, I wanted to take through with the various steps of performance management, because there are cases in the termination of determinations, like who are involved in the termination process. Let's say, for example, there is an employee who has been rated 0 or 1, right? That means he or she will come under the performance improvement plan process. Then in that case, as an employer, you need to execute with the termination process. So who are involved in the termination process decision? Is that manager or HR or the, reporting manager is involved? What factors or documents are considered in terms of the termination? Is it legally abide? Because for example, for in this particular case, when we join the organization, when any employee joins the organization, he or she sign the code of conduct as well as the employment letter, right? In the employment letter, there are the clauses which is mentioned related to the termination as well. And the similar way it is applies to the absconding process. Now, when it comes to the absconding, here the terminology, it means any employee is absent without any notice for a more than certain days. Let's say it's again vary from companies to company. I mean, from 8 days, 5 days, 4 days. It's based on that, whether it is a show cause notice is provided, whether any legal action has been taken care of that particular employee. When it comes to the termination process, which are the different form, who informs to the employee in terms of termination? Is it manager responsibility or is it HR responsibility? Does the company have surveillance play? What do you mean by, I mean, sometimes there is a layoff in the organization, right? The servants plan, that means the company is liable to pay certain amount or a certain number of months the salary to those laid off employees. How that has been final check calculated, whether it has it properly documented in full and final settlement document, what steps are taken in terms of the security of the company assets, right? All the terminated employees remanded post obligations, right? Because fundamentally, as an employer, you need to take care of everything. You take care before the person leave the organization, right? An exit interview consistently conducted or not. See, let me tell you one example with my experience. We were doing one of the CMM level audit in one of my organization where I used to work, and we used to have the auto generated interview feedback form, right? What happens is that one point in time the system was not working that particular day. Then we missed out to get the feedback from the exited employee on a physical document or in either email format. That comes as a compliance audit, okay? That comes as a non-conformity part in terms of the performance management systems or the termination process that has been followed up. Moving ahead, so my point is to tell you and inform you is that it's very important to maintain and document the data in a required form. Now, the next function, which is very important and which is called as total reward audit. So here reward, it's not related to the reward and recognition. That means recognition and motivation tool. It's in line with the compensation and benefits program. So first and foremost, in a reward and benefit policies, Do they have the company achieve the business goal? Do they know that? Do they ensure that they retain with the best staff? Do they maximize of your investment in terms of upskilling and reskilling to the development of personal development plan of the employees and the overall benefit package to the stocks, right? Now, very important when we build any compensation system, it's important there are the different steps needs to be followed to build the reward system or reward practices in the organization. First and foremost is clarify your existing pay and benefit strategy. Let me give an example, a live example here. Uh, my current organization, we have something which is called as no vacation policy, right? What does it mean by, right? You can take more than accrued leaves as per the legal compliance. If you can take more than accrued leaves, then company will not deduct any kind of salary from your. So this is one of the benefit that we felt, which is one of the best parameter for us to retain and sustain the best employees. So we clarify that and we executed it and we got success in terms of this particular strategy as well. Then the next step, which is important to build the reward audit from audit standpoint, analyze the existing arrangement in detail. For example, you have a different workforce and you pay some employees uh, whose PF is less than, like who are falling into the PF deduction, who are not falling into the PF. For example, any interns are working in organization, right? HR interns or any function related interns, right? They are just coming out of the college. It's not necessary that they are paid more than 15,000. So if they are paid less than 50,000, then what is the TDS deduction calculation, all that stuff. So it's to be well articulated and exited existed. Develop the new policies, like for example, during this pandemic situations, every company, everybody, each one of us are working from home. We are using our own assets for the organization. What organization giving us the benefit, that organization need to ensure. So many companies have started giving the office setup, started giving the broadband connectivity, started having the telephone and other kind of allowances to the employees. So you need to develop your new policies and maintain that record, right? Design and maintain a new pay structure. Let's say, here, I will give an example, right? Some companies, we have a flexi basket, right? When in you have, if your salary is more than certain limit of the tax benefit, and NPS scheme, national pension schemes, then car lease policies, these kind of different flexi basket component, right? That you need to ensure that you have a pay structure changing after certain number of years as well. Design and maintain the contingent pay systems, right? And fully it is in line with your performance of the employees as well as performance of the all kind of employees. Employees means from the top to bottom level of employees, right? Develop overall benefit package, right? So in terms of the benefits, like the companies have different grading systems, right? Each one of us join the organization with certain designation. Let's say I join some organization as a software engineer. After 2 years, I'll be moving as a senior software engineer. After 2 years, I'll be moving into the new role. It's called as a technical team lead. Uh, but my benefits will be different from the level to level. It's called as a grading system, right? Make your new total reward systems. How do you ensure that your talent get retained and sustained? Now, these are the steps that you need to build to form a reward system. When it comes to the audit part, because it's all about numbers, if you don't focus on numbers and if you don't talk right numbers, then it will be difficult, right, to for from auditor standpoint. So everything, let's say you have given any promotion to any XYZ employees, you should document the promotion later in the system as well as the signed copy, acknowledgement copy, just to give an example. Moving ahead, this is the major important part of the any audit process, be it with the HR audit or non-HR audit. Auditor maintain the audit registered as well as the reports, right? The reports pattern may vary from the auditor point of view or auditing agency point of view plus the organization point of view. So generally, typically, what does it mention? It mentions about the title, address, auditor responsibility. Now here, I would like to explain you practically how it happens. When any audit get planned, there is an opening meeting called upon where all the authorities in the organization who are responsible, authority, responsibility, positions in the organization has been called for the meeting. They need to be present in the meeting. Now, in terms of opinion, should mention the overall impression of the audit from a financial standpoint, a modified, unmodified. Okay, in the similar way, opening meeting and the closing meeting, it happens when it comes to the audit part, right? On the other reporting responsibility, if other reporting responsibility exists, same should be mentioned. So in an organization, there are dual reporting structure or multiple reporting lines that need to be aligned. And signature of the auditor, it comes because it's everything is documented. Nothing, I mean, it's on verbal or any call or something like that, right? The signature is important. The date of audit report is important. Signature of all the authorities who are present during the meeting, it's very important. Okay, so generally it follows that when there are audits, you should not take any kind of leaves, and you should ensure that you are present in the organization if you are a responsible person from a company standpoint. Moving ahead, the most important function of HR is called as recruitment and hiring. So various companies have a different hiring patterns and methodology that they follow. Few companies may not have a job description. Few companies may have something called as a job analysis, or job roles are defined, or they just give brief about it, right? So let's talk one by one. So first, let's understand from the hiring process standpoint. So when it comes to the audit part, who are involved? Who are the parties involved in the hiring process? Typically HR or line managers who are taking the interviews and senior people in the organization. And decisions are involved at the different level stage in the different like first interview, second interview, third interview, then there is HR interview. And what is the timeline that it takes in terms of from posting your job to completion of that particular position? How, what is the time frame is maintained to complete the entire cycle of recruitment? Is there a procedure to notify that the rejected candidates? Now, let's say if you have a tools, ATS tools, automatic system generated tools in terms of recruitment as well, there are systems wherein you can generate auto-generated rejection notification to the candidates. Are there any plans for the practices complaint to the government regulation if the company is giving any kind of benefits offering, like, so for example, joining bonus, pre-joining bonus, these kind of things are happening in the industry as of now. How do applicant view the hiring process? So typically it's a feedback pattern, right? Are this posting on the Glassdoor? See, very important from an organization standpoint, because it's not about the existing employee that they review the company, but the external world who are coming for the interview process, going through the interview process. Not everybody should get selected, right? There are people who get rejected as well. So those reviews on the Glassdoor. So these things are important. And pre-employment screening is another very important criteria, because as I said earlier in one of my topic, is that the background verification, right? That's come as a part of pre-employment screening. So they validate the assessment of the person. How was the person working? How the person was working in his previous organization, right? All types of screening which is required, a driving record requisition, as well as is there person having any criminal related clauses or discrimination as provided, and etc. So the job applications and job description, how the company do the job posting, it is done by the social media, or it is done by the mass mailing kind of concepts and everything. So those to be planned and well documented in a proper manner whenever there is applicable. Do you applicant include at will disclaimer? I mean, there is an acknowledgement, right, from a job applicant. Whatever the policy, I will walk through the internal. Sometimes it happens that the people are not applicable and they don't come for the interview process on time, and they remember themselves, I have applied for this position, and join the, they come back to the recruitment and tells. So everything, it has to be documented, it has to be properly maintained. If you do not have a system, it has to be properly documented somewhere in a system, in Excel form or etc. Right? So the next and last important aspects of the from the major HR functions is learning and development, right? So training, that we call as learning and development. Training is the old terminology. In training now, it's coaching, mentoring, then there are classroom sessions, there are skill building sessions, there are knowledge transfer sessions, and the development related sessions, right? When it comes to the audit team, they ensure that the data and provide the feedback. Let's say you have one training is happening, right? But the facilitator who was facilitating the training program, his evaluation has not been conducted by the supervisor. Then the auditor may ask the questions to the respective stakeholders from L&D team why it has not been done. So any gaps, any miss in the defined learning and development system will not be tolerated. Those finding comes as a part of the audit process. Typically, it's a written report documented, prioritized, like for example, how was the training program, how was the trainer, whether the everything was properly arranged and everything. So what is the frequency of the training, the level of assigned in terms of high, medium, and low. The audit team can develop a timeline and action to develop and determine the order which the issue has been addressed. For example, as I said earlier, this is one of the gap which has been identified in one of the training program. The auditor has a full right to inform to the organization, ensure that that gap should be minimized in next 8 days. So it's the that department responsibility to ensure that they complete that particular process. No matter it is backdated, but they need to ensure that they have abide with this process. Okay, sure. Then they discuss about the results with the audit employees as well as HR department and as well as with the senior management. So in learning and development these days, we are doing a virtual learning. Now you must be talking about how do you ensure that the attendance, right? So that there are certain mechanisms and certain tools the companies are using, which is automated tools, which will capture your in time, sign in, sign out, the presenter details, the presentee details and everything, right? So that's it all about the HR processes and HR or different HR processes and HR audit. Uh, Last but not the least, I would say that when it comes to the any process audit, you need to ensure that your process, what does this process talks, and you are doing the activity as per your processes, right? You should be abide as per your processes. And the last part, which I would like to say that various companies are developing the HR risk assessment as a terminology, wherein you can assess your performance of HR team on a monthly basis. That's kind of in small audits, right? Just to check, cross check. It's kind of checkpoints that you prepare in your system. It is done, yes or no, it is done, yes or no, like the way we do to-do list, right? But we never go back and check that yesterday I supposed to do 5 things, but I have not completed these 4 things. We never do that cross check, but it's always good. Audit is nothing but checking the system. Is it going in a right direction or wrong direction, or is there an improvement is required? Thank you so much. I hope you have got the topic details, and thank you so much. Wish you all the best and enjoy. Be safe at home. Thank you.